What made you lose respect for someone? Was my boss. I honestly loved his managing and preferred him over any manager I've had thus far. But he made fun of anyone and anything. I kinda just smiled and toned it out till he started loudly making fun of the autistic worker at the morning meetings. So I have a friend who is really popular, like real life version of Lucifer. At first he was really likable and good and chick magnet and all, but after some came to know that he just make friends to use them as for his work and if he needs any help or to fulfill his own agenda, and is an absolute liar. I came to this cause I stayed with for much longer, and every time he talks about some new person came in contact with, how he's using him/her for his work like a free labor. Enjoy he long weekend. I lost respect for my Republican friends and family. Oh good lol. You are forgiven for running. I had a friend in my 20s who got pregnant, and when I saw how she handled being pregnant I lost a lot of respect for her. She was drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes and weed, just overall not taking care of herself, and had mad road rage, flipping people off and speeding etc. To the point I was like scared, and like, is this how you will drive with a child in your car? Yeah, haven't spoken to her since and never met the little crotch monster. I thought I had an awesome teacher. He would give us a lot of homework, but I used to think it was okay because he was strict and did it so we would learn more. Turns out every lecture he gave us was pretty much a transcription from the textbook, even most of the comments he used to make. Also, when grading homework he would only care about the answers. This was because he only had the solution book and is very likely that he didn't even know how to solve those exercises. He was just being strict so everyone would think he was smart and so he would get a full-time job. The fact that she knew her husband was mentally and physically abusing their children when punishing them, and then attempted to guilt them into forgiving her as adults for not preventing it. I'm writing a book on creeds, so I'll go with that. The creeds you espouse, do they come from teachings of love, and do you feel the love of their origin while espousing them? Creed kills us. Will make an innocent child lose interest in even something beautiful. So when I see intellectual ramblings of a persuasive art form, people trying to manipulate others to see things this or that way, I make no response regarding the creed. Change only provokes non-change. I simply express how interested I am in them. And gradually, a real human will start to appear, in the most intellectually bound men trying to change the world through their sorting out of things. I thought my wife was perfect and we were going to spend the rest of our lives together, to find out one night I said how much better than I was and she had never cheated. Oh me, then she cried. I knew deep down I was full of shot, and to find her still doing it. Ladies and gents, it is always about sex. Apparently 10 minutes is the limit. More THN, that is just boring anyhow. She hated me right then, and we are losing my daughter and she's looking at real big girl jail time. Left all of their big furniture, bed, dresser, desk, etc., in the house during move out. She moved a month early and left her things for us to deal with. On move out day, the house was a mess and we texted her to come back and help clean since she lived there too, and asked her to throw away her mattress and other furniture herself. She lashed out and yelled at everyone, saying she was absolutely not coming to help clean because she cleaned her room and therefore felt like she did her part. It was a 2-story house with several common areas that she frequented. She then blocked all the roommates on social media and phones, and we never heard from her again. Anyone who abuses animals or deliberately hurts animals. Friend cheated on her husband, then took all but 100 out of their bank account and left and got an apartment. He had no to pay their debt or mortgage. I haven't spoken to her since. John Cena bowing to China. Had a friend who lost a lot because of his drug addiction. He had a nice house, great wife, young daughter, and a well-paying career. Lost it all due to his addiction. He eventually moved back in with his parents after hitting rock bottom and started getting clean. He went to rehab, stopped doing drugs, got another job, started volunteering in the community, etc. He was really starting over and turning his life around. I'd known him before the drugs and while it was going on, and it seemed like he'd finally found peace and was on the road to happiness. Then I had another friend offer and supply him with drugs after all of that. I asked the second friend why he would do that, since he's not a dealer or trying to drum up business. His reply was, he's an adult, he can make his own decision. Pretty much lost respect for friend number 2 at that point, and really that was the beginning of the end of our friendship. Meanwhile, that event led friend number 1 into another downward spiral from which he still hasn't fully recovered. I haven't seen him in a while, so hopefully he's on the road to peace and happiness again. I kinda hate to say it because it'll turn political, but that's only because, as a disclaimer, it is ridiculous how political COVID became. I'm in healthcare and worked in an ER for 2 years until COVID hit, and then all the other nurses I worked with, bar maybe 10% of them, treated COVID like a joke. Wouldn't wear properly, would talk about it like the second flu, and would critique how the world was overreacting to COVID because it wasn't really that bad. I even had one nurse who tried to argue with me that the regular flu kills more per year. And when I showed her the fucking CDC with the death toll for flu on a yearly basis compared to COVID at the time, it was around 100k, she literally said that can't be a reputable source. So yeah. Other nurses who tried to downplay COVID. Basically they used confirmation bias, as they would see some with COVID who didn't have severe symptoms, and therefore that's how it was everywhere. And trust me, I had many people who I had to rush back with COVID because they were dying like it was going out of style. We certainly had very sick COVID patients too. When Dream, Minecraft, cheated on a speedrun and used a TAS in his latest manhunt. I had a youth pastor I really looked up to for a while. Even after he left my church, I would still call him for advice sometimes. I completely lost touch with him for 5 years or so, then out of the blue I got a Facebook message from him. I was really excited to hear from him, and we messaged back and forth a little. Then he sent me a really long message about how he had struggled with employment for years but finally had the opportunity to provide for his daughters the way he wanted. He proceeded to try to sell me some MLM bodybuilding shake subscription. I never messaged him back. I have several thoughts here. First, a business plan that depends on you selling to family and friends is a bad business plan. Second, MLMs are pyramid schemes, plain and simple. And third, if you are selling a product, you should believe in the product, and if you need a sob story to sell the product, then you don't actually believe in the product. My buddy had a coupon for a build your own person pizza that was buy one get one free, tried making me pay full price so he could get his pizza free. Saying they support Trump. A friend of mine in high school attempted suicide. I didn't feel comfortable talking to the female PE teacher, softball coach about it. So I have a private conversation with one of the other female teachers about it. A couple hours later the PE teacher pulled me off to the side in her private office. Started yelling at me about discussing this matter with another teacher. This was a private matter. I told her you never liked me and go F yourself. Of course she called my folks and got the principal involved. My folks came to school and put her in her place by the end of the school day. I was very lucky to not be expelled. 20 plus years later I still can't stand to hear her name or the sight of her. I found out that my uncle is an anti-vaxxer earlier this year. I thought that he was a smart and a fun guy. Tha putitiing emek rose chips in yu exclamation mark 1 exclamation mark 1. I got kicked out and started living at a friend's house. The friend would be an all-around ass to me. You're gay. You're stupid as hell, etc etc. What made me lose respect was when he told me least I'm not homeless. Pretty much any time I was visiting extended family with my dad, he'd always make an effort to mention a recent fuck up of mine, mostly happened during my teens, or try to get me to argue politics knowing they'd take his side. Teens present. My dad just loves conflict, especially when it proves his narrative. I lost respect for my mother. The moment I realized she would hurt me, or anyone for that matter, to get what she wants, usually control over everything, I lost every piece of love, care and respect for her. She could die and I still wouldn't care. There was a short period of time when I was a bit scared of myself that I could so permanently close out someone of my life, but I honestly don't give a single fuck about the norms. I shouldn't tolerate anyone who wants to make someone's life miserable for their own emotional benefit, and I won't. My buddy invited me out to celebrate my job offer after months of looking at his members-only club. I arrived at our table with 5 more people I haven't met before. 2 of them are girls he dated previously. It became apparent later on that the dinner party was not to celebrate my job offer but to impress these people. He then made me pay for the drinks and food they've ordered and eaten at this very expensive restaurant. I don't mind paying for his bill because he covered my 2 drinks previously, but to pay for people he invited over who I don't know is too much. I don't think I want to see this friend again.